Hello everyone, I'm Keegan of the Seattle Superonix, and this is the Week 3 pregame setup discussion for my game this week against Tom's Toronto Blue Jays. So let's hop right into discussing what threat he brings in this week. So on his team, he's got a Venusaur, a Celebi, a Suicune, a Blaziken, an Excadrill, a Gardevoir, a Registeel, a Salamence, a Haunter, a Megamanectric, and an Alakazam. And week 1 and 2, he brought the exact same team. He brought a defensive Venusaur, a bulky Salamence, a Crocoon with Roar, an Excadrill that was Stealth Rock Setter, Gardevoir that was specially attack invested, and a Megamanectric that was an all-out attacker. And I'm expecting him to bring in one of Venusaur, that same team plus Celebi, which would most likely be a Baton Pass pivot, and to a lesser extent Registeel. Basically, if he does bring in Registeel, I'm expecting Excadrill to be more of a physical attacker rather than especially attack-invested attacker. But if he doesn't bring in Registeel, then I'm expecting Excadrill to be that Stealth Rock Setter using Mold Breaker to get through Mega Sableye Magic Bounce. Now, I don't think he's going to bring in Blaziken because my team is heavily water invested. It's basically a rain team. And so I don't think he'll see Blaziken as useful in this setup, especially when he's been using the same core for his week 1 and 2 games. I also don't think he's going to bring in Haunter or Alakazam, just because they're too weak in general. If I don't really need to prepare for them, I think I can just very easily get through them. They're not very powerful against my team. So you may notice that his only real physical attacking dangers on that team are Excadrill and Salamence, and this weakness was sort of showcased in both his week 1 and 2 games, where he had difficulty getting through one particular wall, which was in week 1 Umbreon and week 2 Melodic. I don't think he's going to run much physical attackers this week as well, because again he can't run the Blaziken, and he's going to be running Excadrill as a Stealth Rock Setter. The only one I'm really thinking could possibly be a physical attacking danger is Salamence, but so far he's been running it pretty bulky, and I don't expect that to change much. It may, and it'll be interesting if it does, and I'm going to be wary of that. But my setup is built around him making the same mistake and bringing in a lot of special attackers. Because if he does bring in a physical attacker, it will most likely just be one, and once I can get through that, it'll be an easy game. So my team this week is Politoed, Mega Sableye, Garchomp, Hawlucha, Kabutops, and Ferrothorn. And so let's just go right into it. I'm not running a lot of Rain Team this week. I'm only running Politoed and Kabutops, and to a lesser extent Ferrothorn. And the reason for this is just because he's got a lot of Grass-type threats. The Venusaur and the Celebi especially. If he's running Celebi as an attacker rather than a pivot, or if he gets enough Nasty Plots or Calm Minds off, the Celebi is extremely dangerous with any kind of Energy Ball. And Venusaur is just going to be generally troublesome, which is mostly why the Hawlucha and the Ferrothorn is going to be so important this week. But basically, I'm worried about 3 Pokemon, which is Venusaur, Celebi, and Suicune, and to a lesser extent Megamanectric. I have a lot of things built around beating Megamanectric, though, and it hasn't been doing a lot of work. It usually comes in to immediately die. So hopefully that continues. But anyway, let's just get right into Politoed. So I'm running Politoed, and he is a Rain Team enabler. He's running Drizzle and Damp Rock, and he's mostly being used as a pivot in between. And I still think that's useful. First of all, he's a generally good utility to bring to the team. We saw in week 2 how good Haze was against his Suicune. And it also the rain also helps get Kabutops Swift Swim, which is basically necessary for Kabutops, and protecting Ferrothorn from fire attacks. So I still think it's useful. Now, just to quickly talk about the EVs and the nature I'm bringing. I'm bringing in a Calm Nature just because to get as much bulk as possible, and the special defense is mostly just for pure bulk. The speed I'm running 152 speed, which gives him 214 speed at level 100, which lets him outspeed a no investment or a 4 investment Gardevoir, Venusaur, Blaziken, Suicune, and Excadrill. So if he's only putting 4 EVs to any one of those into his speed stats on any one of his Pokemon, Politoed will still outspeed them. Particularly important since it means I can get a Haze off on a switch in on a Calm Mind Suicune to contain it. And it can also go toe-to-toe with a bulky spinner Excadrill, which is, again, what I'm expecting him to bring. Defensive Venusaur it also beats if it's just going toe-to-toe Ice Beam to Ice Beam. He's got 32 special attack on the dot because that guarantees a one-hit KO on an attacking Salamence from Ice Beam. If he's got no special defense investment or 4 special defense investment, then the Ice Beam will one-shot the Salamence, which is very important. If he's running an attacking one. If it's for bulky, then it's going to take more than one attack. It'll be a 2-hit KO, but that's expected. HP is what it is because it guarantees that an attacking Excadrill doesn't one-shot us unless it's running a Choice Band with an Earthquake. So it also boosts the bulk for his special attackers. So moving on to Mega Sableye now. This week we're running him as a Calm Mind setup with a lot of bulk. So basically Calm Mind is going to be insane if we can actually get a few off. I'm going to be running this guy as my lead-in because of Prankster. And basically, if he starts with an Excadrill and I'm not expecting it to be attacking, I'm going to get a free Calm Mind off, and then from there on in, I can just recover over and over. Maybe Will-O-Wisping to put his attack down. Because Earthquake, if he's running a bulky setup, will not do more than 50%. Additionally, once I get 2 Calm Minds off, even a fully special attack invested Gardevoir does not do more than 50% damage, which means that the Shadow Ball is just going to... If I can get enough Calm Minds off with his Mega Sableye, he literally just wins the game immediately. So we'll see what happens, especially because he can't bring in a Suicune with a Roar because of Magic Bounce. The EVs here are pretty basic for that reason. Calm Nature with 252 in HP and 252 in special defense, with a little bit in defense just for the physical attacks. So moving on, we have Garchomp. So Trash, our Garchomp, is going to be a Choice Band sweeper this week, mostly so that I can get a lot of damage in on the non-Mega Manectric Pokemon. He's going to basically be filling 2 roles. If he does bring in Mega Manectric, this guy can basically just lead in and stop the Volt Switch. I don't think Tom is going to out-predict any kind of HP ices. I think he'll most likely go for Volt Switches in those cases, and so I usually get free swaps in. Although, if I'm in the lead, I probably won't take those risks. Once Gardevoir and Salamence is out, I can basically wreck with Outrage or Earthquake, and then just immediately swap out once Outrage goes off for the confusion to any one of my pivots. To have the one-hit KO on the offensive Gardevoir with Iron Head, I needed to run one of Life Orb, Expert Bolt, or Choice Band, and I picked Choice Band just because I thought it was going to be the best in any case. Now I'm running 52 special defense so that on a switch in against a Mega Manectric, and if he does run HP Ice, then I live through 1 Stealth Rock. If he does do that prediction on the Mega Manectric, then I can actually switch out now, and I can use it as kill fodder later on, basically. That's the advantage of that 52 special defense. It'll still be disastrous if he does get that Hidden Power Ice off, but I don't think it'll be too bad. I'm most likely going to be using this guy as a swap-in move. So that way a Mega Manectric kills something, I put Garchomp in, he can live through a Hidden Power Ice if he thinks he's clever, and then Earthquake will get through. The 240 speed with the Jolly Nature is to outspeed his team minus a Manectric or a Mega Manectric with a Speed Nature. If he's bringing in a special attack nature or a non-speed nature, then I will actually outspeed a non-Mega Manectric, which is going to be awesome. 216 attack is basically just the rest of the EVs to do as much damage as possible. Our next mon up is Hawlucha, Nacho Libre. He did work week 2, and I'm expecting he's going to do a decent amount of work this week as well. You may have noticed that a lot of the people I'm bringing in, minus maybe Garchomp, have an issue with Celebi and Venusaur because of their grass typing. This is where this guy comes in. Basically, once I get a single Swords Dance off, the only Pokemon that doesn't immediately get one-shot is Suicune with full defensive setup. And I have it built with my 232 attack. So after a single Swords Dance, High Jump Kick is exactly a 2-hit KO if Suicune is running full defense investment with a nature with leftovers. I don't think it's going to be more bulky than that. I don't think it's possible to be more bulky than that for his Suicune. So I think that's going to work out well. Now, if I'm expecting him to roar after a Swords Dance, I can substitute, which breaks the roar, and then go into the high jump kicks. The 12 HP EVs are to get a health bar divisible by 4, so that 2 subs will activate our Citrus Berry and Unburden to give us that speed boost. And then 152 speed plus our Jolly Nature gives us enough speed without Unburden to outspeed a regular Manectric with a speed nature and full investment. And once Unburden goes off, we outspeed everything, Scarfed or not. Finally, it should be noted that simply having him on the roster is really good against a attacking Excadrill or an Excadrill in general, because Earthquake is suddenly not really able to be used freely. Basically, he can be a good switch in. It's very similar to how Garchomp is going to work with Volt Switch against Mega Manectric. Now, our second last Pokemon is Scyther, our Kabutops, and he's going to be very similar to how he's been run previously, with the stab moves of Waterfall and Stone Edge. Coverage for Celebi for Exeter. This gives us a one chance of one-hit KOing a defensive Celebi. And any other alternatives I had weren't particularly good, and Exeter actually gave me good coverage against one of the ones I thought he was going to bring in. Backup plan is the Swords Dance, just in case he's doing a lot of stalling or just switching. I can just get, maybe if I expect to switch in, I can get a Swords Dance off. Most likely I'm not going to be using the Swords Dance. Adamant Nature with 252 attack. Pretty standard for just maximum damage. And I put 204 EVs in a speed. Any additional investment would have been pointless. And it allows him to outspeed everything but Scarfed plus Nature, Alakazam when the rain is up. And I really don't expect to see a Scarfed Alakazam with a speed Nature. Without rain, we'll still outspeed people with low speed investments, but if we're outside of rain and Kabutops is out, we are in problems. And the rest of the 52 EVs we just put into special defense for bulk. Finally, we have Monol or Ferrothorn. He's going to be our main reliable pivot. Basically, if he brings out Suicune, we're going to bring in our Monol here, because Power Whip is going to deal something like 45% damage. Stealth Rock is going to be useful against all of his switch-ins, because he's kind of switch-heavy, I've noticed in the previous weeks. And Stealth Rock is going to be useful against that. And we're running Assault Vest with a lot of special defense investment, again, because we're expecting him to be very special defense heavy. The only person who can deal more than 25% damage in a single attack in rain is Mega Manectric with Overheat, which, if he's running an Overheat on Mega Manectric, I'm perfectly okay with, and a Gardevoir with Focus Blast. Once the Gardevoir is down, we're off to the races, and I don't think he's going to want to run Gardevoir against a Ferrothorn, because at least then we get a Gyro Ball off, which means that Gardevoir is dead, which is very good for us, because then we can swap in Garchomp for an Outrage. Pretty basic setup. We're running Power Whip and Gyro Ball as our stab moves, with Leech Seed for the health advantage, and Stealth Rock. Assault Vest, again, for the additional special defense bulk. And so that is the team this week. Again, Politoed, Mega Sableye, Garchomp, Hawlucha, Scyther, and Ferrothorn. And, well, I'm about to play him now, so hopefully the match goes well, and hopefully the preparation succeeds. Again, this is Keegan, coach of the Seattle Superonix, in this Week 3 pregame discussion. See you later.